This is the prep packet video for Unit 4, Chapter 9.8, Objective Number 1, where we find the square root of a negative number. Now, I want you to remember we defined the square root of a negative 1 as the letter I. So, since we now have this new tool, we can evaluate the square roots of negative numbers. And to do that, first of all, I'm going to think of it this way. Here I have the square root of 9 times the square root of negative 1. The square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of negative 1 is I. So my finished product will look like that. Same thing. Here I have altogether the square root of negative 7. So that's the square root of 7 times the square root of negative 1. And that stays the square root of 7. And this will become I. So I would write it this way. I times the square root of 7. Here, same thing, I have a negative, so I'm going to say square root of negative 1 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. This becomes I, this becomes 2, and that stays the square root of 3. So I'm going to write the number first, then the letter I, finally the square root. Here's a few more. Here again I have the negative, so it's going to be I, and the square root of 4 is 2. Here that's the same as the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 9 times the square root of 6. So that's I, and that's 3, and that's the square root of 6. So 3I root 6. Here, this is pretty straightforward. I have the square root of 11 and the square root of negative 1. And that's how I'm going to write it. This is a really, really easy step. So I want you to get a little more practice by trying the You Try problems on page 589. And please include this work with your prep packet. See you in the next one.